Hello everyone and welcome back to the good stuff. We are back at the 1857 First American Chess Congress in a third game in their match, Theodore Lichtenhein versus Paul Charles Morphy. Now this is actually the fourth game we've seen we're gonna see between the two of them, but only two of them so far were from the actual American Chess Congress tournament. So let's see what happens in this one. Like I said, it's the best of 5, so if Morphy wins this one, he wins yet another match 3-0. First he defeated Thompson 3-0, then he defeated Judge Meek 3-0, and now he's leading 2-0 against Lichtenhein. So let's see if he can do something about it. So for this game, he brought something different to the party. Instead of his usual stuff, he went for d4. He simply cannot afford another loss, so he's gonna try and play a different type of game against Morphy. Not gonna open up the position, which kind of makes sense when you play against Paul Morphy. Morphy replies with the d5. We have c4, e6, knight to c3, and yes, knight to f6. In the First American Chess Congress, in game 3 between Lichtenhein and Morphy, we have the Queen's Gambit declined. We have knight to f3 and c5. Morphy goes for the semi-Tarrasch. We have e3, knight to c6 by Morphy, and now a3. Preparing after this bishop is developed, which was played in those games, you can play something like d captures on c5 and win some tempi here. It is still the most popular move played today. And here a6 can be played. It's a known move, like captures or captures is a popular move in this position. But Morphy's bishop to d6 not so much. And for good reasons, as you'll see. We have d captures on c5 as planned, bishop captures and b4 now. Lichtenhein waited for Morphy, of course, to develop his dark square bishop, and only then he made it move again. Bishop back to d6, and now bishop to b2. And here we have castles by Morphy. This position is still being played even today. In 2006, for example, Anton Korbov defeated Vladimir Stopkin with c5 here in this position, but Morphy here plays knight to b5, and it is a move that after this game, Lichtenhein versus Morphy was never reached again. So Morphy could go for bishop back to b8, but then it's kind of, I guess he was thinking maybe if a6 I kick back the knight, I would still have to bring back the bishop to be able to develop my rook. So instead Morphy goes bishop to e7. Remaneuvering the knight b to d4 now, an excellent square for the knight, and now knight to e4. Morphy remaneuvers his knight to the center of the board. We have knight captures on c6, b captures on c6, and now bishop to d3. So Lichtenhein doing very good work in this game. His bishops are beautifully placed here, aimed at Morphy's king. He's gonna castle, maybe not right away. Maybe he's gonna go for something like h4, knight g5. Maybe try and open up the h file, maybe even at the price of a pawn. All depending on what Morphy plays. So Morphy decides that he doesn't enjoy his weak pawn on c6, and he probably wants this diagonal for his bishop, so he gets rid of it with c5. With knight to d2, now preparing to win a pawn on e4, and here Morphy could go for bishop to b7, but first he decides to trade. Knight captures, queen captures, and now, it's hard to decide what to do here. Here Morphy has a chance to win a pawn, but for some reason he decided not to do it. For example, c captures on b4, and now if you continue with the trade, a captures here, bishop captures, and queen captures with check. After king captures, bishop picks up the b4 pawn with check, and you have this passed a pawn which you can push. For some reason, Morphy didn't enjoy this. Maybe he thought, maybe after this, maybe white doesn't have to recapture. Maybe white can play something like c5, and then instead of these 2 pawns, we can have something like captures, and then okay, you don't have a passed a pawn, but you still win a pawn. So it's maybe it was the way to go. But Morphy had a different idea. He played d captures on c4, bishop not captures, but rather bishop e4 now, going after Morphy's rook. And here Morphy trades queens. With queen captures on d2 with check, king captures, and now getting the rook out of harm's way. Rook to b8, but now Lichtenhein with his bishop pair is about to harass Morphy's rook a lot. Rook to b5, and now bishop to c6, attacking the rook again, bishop to b6, and now b5, defending the bishop here and threatening bishop to c7 to trap the rook. But Morphy Morphy finds a very nice idea. Bishop to b7. And now Lichtenhein has to be very careful. If he goes for the greedy bishop to c7, it's not the best move in the position. Best is actually, instead of this move, to just go bishop captures on b7. And after rook captures, solidify with a4. Then you can bring the other rook into the game. You can create a passed pawn here, the bishop already guarding the queening square. So in the long run, this would have been the way to go. But instead, Lichtenhein played the bishop to c7 a bit prematurely. And now he allowed Morphy a certain idea, which you're more than welcome to pause the video and try to find it while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting the doubled pawn and that it needs to be pushed. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's c3 check. This is what Morphy played, and it really complicates matters because, of course, if you capture, then bishop to f6 check puts your king in the line of fire. But it's even worse if you don't capture. Let's say king c2, then you get bishop captures on c6. And now, if of course the rook is captured, you have this bishop e4 check, and now you grab another piece. And still, if you capture this, then you pick up the rook, and if you don't, then this is just an incredibly strong passed pawn. So Lichtenhein played the best move. He played king captures on c3, bishop to bishop captures on c6 first. We have bishop captures on b6, eliminating Morphy's rook, and now bishop to f6 with check. We have king back to d2, and now a captures on b6. We have b captures on c6, and only now bishop captures on a1. Rook captures on a1, and now rook to c8, going after this pawn here. So the material is equal, but Morphy will win the c pawn. We have a4, preparing a5 to create further weaknesses, and now Morphy went for rook captures on c6, and we have a5. And here the problem is you cannot play b5 to create two connected passed pawns because a6 is deadly here. Because if you go back, rook c8, we have rook to a5 now going after the pawns here, and you don't really have a good reply here. Because even if, for example, rook 8, you can still capture it, and black cannot capture because of a back rank mate. And even if you play something like b4, still a7, rook here, and again rook to b5, and there is no defense against rook to b8, because if you capture, of course, it's just mate, and if you don't, if you make some breathing room for the king, then just check and pick up the rook, because if you trade, of course, white gets a queen into the game. So after this a5 idea, Morphy had to capture on a5. We have rook captures on a5, and now g6. Of course, Morphy has to waste a move to get rid of his back rank weaknesses. We have f3, and now rook to b6 played by Morphy, offering up his c5 pawn, respecting Lichtenhein enough that he acknowledges that this position is a draw. So Lichtenhein simply captured it. Morphy played rook to b2 check, and it was in this position, of course, that the two of them agreed to a draw, because after the rook blocks, you have an endgame with 4 pawns on the king side each. This is there's no point in playing this. Even though, okay, Morphy might have, you know, if he wanted to drag this out for like another 6 hours, maybe he could have continued playing this game instead of maybe this rook to b6 idea, maybe started bringing the king into the game and so on. But you know, Morphy decided that he's now 2.5 to half, and he only needs a half a point to win the match. So he's happy with a draw here with the black pieces. But yeah, I'm sure it's something you haven't expected. I'm sure you maybe some of you thought that Morphy was just gonna obliterate everyone 3-0, but it is not the case. So you can tell your friends, you know, at the bar and the library that the first person to dodge a loss against Paul Morphy in the first American Chess Congress in 1857 was good old Theodore Lichtenhein here, who scored his first draw against Morphy. Something no one achieved here just yet. So yeah, that's game 3 of their match. Like I said, 2.5 to half in Morphy's favor. So the match continues. First match to go, you know, further than 3 games. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I would like to thank James McNamara, Pat Carbone, Polak Shlomo, James Abraham, and Ryan Schneider for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, of course, continuing the Morphy saga, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world, like the candidates tournament that starts in about a week. So yeah, thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.